I'm going to show you the exact three-part system that has allowed me to make thousands of dollars in the markets consistently. I'm going to show you what it is, how to actually use it, and then a live example of us implementing this with our team. And this is a very, very simple system, but you need to be sure that you understand exactly what the system is and then how to implement it. And the third and most important component to implementing this system is the timing.
By the end of this video, you're going to know the answer to three important questions. What is the three-phase system? What time frame does it work the best? And most importantly, how can you make money with it? The three-step system is the AMD strategy. So that stands for accumulation, manipulation, and distribution. This is a three-wave series. Accumulation is generally low and slow volume. Manipulation is generally an impulsive move in the direction of that low and slow volume. And then finally, we have distribution, where we see price continue in the direction of what the larger time frame trend is. And the distribution phase is actually where we make our money. Now, you know what AMD is and the three waves of the process, but there's something that is super, super important. Timing. You need to know what time to be looking for and when it works best. I personally will be looking at gold because this is what I trade, and the best time to trade gold would be during the start of the new daily and the New York Open, right? So what do I mean by the start of the new daily? If we're taking a look at the daily time frame and the previous daily candle just closed bearish, we can anticipate that the next daily candle is likely to close bearish. Now, what this looks like on the chart is you would see essentially a move down, and then we have our daily open. This is our daily open up here. Then we would see a move up, creating our top wick, and then our distribution down. Then price pushes back up and it closes here. So this is our first candle. We have our daily open, price pushes up, it comes down, creates a new lower low, and then closes here, leaving this bottom wick. Now, this is where we start to see our AMD strategy play out. We have our accumulation phase, then we have a manipulation move at the start of the candle open. This is going to form our top wick for our new daily. And then we would finally see a distribution move, that continuation move of the larger time frame. So we want to flow in the direction of the larger time frame, and we always want to start with our daily time frame generally. Now, when we trade in the New York session, we'll look for this same structure, but at the New York Open on a much smaller time frame. Now that you understand what time is the best to look for the AMD strategy, now that you understand what time frame to be looking for the AMD strategy, the most important thing to this whole thing that's going to be able to pull this entire strategy together is this: being able to read price action. You need to be able to identify each individual phase in the market, whether we're in the accumulation phase, the manipulation phase, or the distribution phase. And I'm going to explain how we can identify each portion of the waves and the time frames that these happen. Generally, for our accumulation phase, we see this during the Sydney session and going into the Asian session. This will be low and slow volume. Then when we get to our manipulation, this will generally be during the Asian session for gold, right? So we'll see the manipulation move higher and then start to see a displacement lower, the distribution phase, which generally can happen during London and New York timeframe. Now, we will only want to trade either the manipulation or the distribution, and we'll make most of our money on the distribution, which will be mentioned here as well, because I want you guys to understand in full depth how we use this to capitalize in the markets, and all of it is going to get pulled together with price action. So in order to capitalize on this during the New York timeframe, we wait for the 9:30 open. So generally before the 9:30 open, we'll see an accumulation start. Then at the 9:30 open, we generally get our manipulation, and then following, we generally see our distribution, right? So I'm going to break down an exact setup that we took today during the New York session that follows by all three of these principles and how we were able to execute it and how you can execute on it in the step-by-step process. Now, we want to start this off by looking at the 5-minute time frame during the New York session. The 5-minute time frame is going to show us our accumulation, our manipulation, and our distribution. So I said price generally accumulates before the market open, right? So before market opens, you can see here 8:30, 8:20, 9 o'clock, we are making moves to the upside here, but a slow, low, gradual move. Then what happens? We have this 9:30 open and we immediately get a manipulation. Why is this a manipulation? Because price goes out and it takes out all of these highs here with this push to the upside. Now, we have to keep in mind that our larger time frame closed as a bearish daily candle the night before. So we're already inclined and set our bias to sell positions going into today's session. So we anticipate this accumulation. Then we get our manipulation right in here, and then price begins to distribute to the downside. Now we have to be able to read price action, and this is where we dial down to the smaller time frame. In order to see a market shift, we need to see price go from creating higher highs and higher lows to now creating a lower low, a lower high, and then we will look to scale in for that continuation to the downside. And how that happened today, as you can see, price created a higher high and higher low. As we came into this session, price was creating higher highs and higher lows. We had this session open, and you want to wait for the open. We got our manipulation, and then price came through and broke through our previous low. That now is our smaller time frame shift, and this is how we execute on this strategy. Once we see that smaller time frame shift, we wait for the 5-minute candle to close bearish. You can see this 5-minute candle pushed through this low here and closed as a bearish candle. We immediately want to get in on the next 1-minute candle following that bearish candle close. So you can see here that price took through these lows, breaking through here. We got a correction back up, and then we seen this expansion move to the downside. And how we set our take profit is simply at a 1 to 2 risk to reward or market structure, right? So in today's case, we set our take profit for the market structure low for price to distribute and take out these lows here for a 1 to 4.8 risk to reward. You will have your highest consistency taking your profit at a 1 to 2 risk to reward. Like I said, we either take it at a 1 to 2 risk to reward or at our structural lows, and you can see how much volume we had here as the 4-hour candle had closed as a bearish candle, and just the amount of volume on the start of that new 4-hour candle. Price push immediately to the downside, sweeping these lows. Now, what I'm going to show you is a live example of a before analysis of the AMD strategy, explaining exactly how we were looking for price to move yesterday at the start of the new daily. And this is how we utilize this in terms of executing during the Asian session. So what I'm looking for today during the open is our manipulation move, price to expand higher. Why am I anticipating that? Well, because price has to form a top wick at the start of the new daily. That means in order to form a top wick, price has to push higher than our open, right? But why do I expect us to go back down is because our previous daily closed as a bearish daily candle. So I'm anticipating price to create a top wick and then to fill this wick to the downside tomorrow during the New York session, right? London, New York. Gold can move at any of these sessions. So today during the Asian session, we'll just be looking for that continued bullish move to the upside, price to tap into some of these levels, definitely to break this 33.43 high, and then we'll look to target some of these highs within this inner structure here. Now you can see here, since we were looking at the daily time frame, we want to take a look at the 15-minute time frame for our market structure. And price was accumulating, creating higher highs and higher lows. And then at the market open, we seen that manipulation move to the upside here, price to correct down and then form a steeper high. Then what do we see happen? Our distribution moved to the downside. price to correct all the way up, and then when we get this 15-minute candle here, you want to get in at the first 5-minute candle to close following this 15. And you can see after this 15-minute candle close, which was right here, we want to get in on the first 1-minute candle, which would be here, and set our stops above our structural high, which is over here. Now, all we're looking for now is a 1 to 2 risk to reward, which would have been right here, and we could target our structural low. You can see price began to continue running to the downside here, and we could see that these lower time frame structures were taken out. Now, this was all a part of a larger time frame wave, which we broke down in our VIP Telegram. So if you want to join our VIP Telegram, you can click the link in the description down below. And if you want to see how I use this exact strategy to pass my 50K funding account and how you can use this same exact strategy to make money, you can watch this video here.